In this discussion, we'll explore the Torah as the foundation for the teachings of Yeshua and the apostles, as well as Israel. We'll examine its instructions and statutes for maintaining the covenant within the context of ancient Hebrew thought, while steering clear of Greek philosophical influence. Focusing on the Torah's role within its original context, the covenant relationship between God and Israel, as understood in a pre-Hellenistic Jewish worldview, will guide our approach.
This perspective emphasizes practical, relational, and communal living grounded in God's revealed will, rather than the abstract and speculative ideas of Greek philosophy, such as Platonism or Stoicism. The exploration will utilize the Torah's texts, their cultural and historical context, and their theological significance in Hebrew thought.
In Hebrew, the word Torah derives from the root yarah, meaning to teach or to guide. It refers to the first 5 books of the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, but also carries a broader sense of divine instruction or guidance. In ancient Hebrew thought, the Torah comprises commandments, precepts, and statutes, not merely a legal code referred to as law, but a comprehensive way of life that encompasses narrative, principles and statutes, ethics, and ritual, all aimed at sustaining Israel's covenantal relationship with God.
Unlike Greek philosophy's focus on universal principles or rational inquiry, the Torah is specific, rooted in God's unique relationship with his chosen people, Israel, and practical, guiding everyday actions within the covenant that leads to life and freedom. Here's where most of us need to shift our mindset. Stop seeing the Torah as merely a legal code and recognize it as life-affirming precepts, commandments, and statutes.
The foundation of the Torah Berit covenant is a binding relational agreement between God and Israel modeled on ancient Near Eastern suzerain-vassal treaties. In these treaties, a greater king, suzerain, offers protection and benefits to a lesser party, vassal, in exchange for loyalty and obedience. In the Torah, God is the suzerain and Israel is the vassal, with the covenant established through key moments, such as the promises to Abraham in Genesis 15 and 17 and the Sinai covenant in Exodus 19 through 24.
The Torah's instructions and statutes define the terms of this covenant, showing how Israel is to live as God's treasured possession and holy nation, as stated in Exodus 19:5 through 6. In Hebrew thought, the covenant is based on God's historical actions, creation, the call of Abraham, and the Exodus, demonstrating his faithfulness and authority.
The Torah's precepts and statutes are not arbitrary, but arise from these acts, encouraging Israel to respond with loyalty and obedience. This relational dynamic differs from Greek philosophy's emphasis on abstract virtues or self-created ethics, as the Torah grounds obedience in God's prior grace and redemptive work.
The Torah's instructions and statutes, hukim and mishpatim, often translated as decrees and judgments, serve as the practical framework for covenantal living. These include what we recognize as moral laws, the 10 Commandments in Exodus 21:17 and Deuteronomy 5:6-21, form the core, addressing worship, family, and social ethics. For example, you shall not murder, and honor your father and mother. What we recognize as ritual laws, the book of Leviticus details sacrifices, purity laws, and festivals like Passover and the Day of Atonement. What we recognize as civil laws, statutes on property, justice, and social welfare found in Exodus 21 through 23 and Deuteronomy 24:10 through 22, ensure communal harmony and care for the vulnerable, reflecting God's concern for justice, Deuteronomy 16:20. And what we recognize as narrative context, there are precepts embedded within stories of God's acts. For example, the Exodus in Exodus 1 through 15 precedes the giving of the instructions in Exodus 20. This grounds obedience and gratitude for God's deliverance, a key Hebrew concept absent in Greek thought.
Deuteronomy 6:1 through 3 encapsulates this. Now this is the commandment, the statutes, and the rules that the Lord your God commanded me to teach you. that you may do them in the land to which you are going over, that it may go well with you. Obedience to the Torah ensures covenant blessings, land prosperity, and a relationship with God, while disobedience risks curses, as described in Deuteronomy 28.
In Hebrew thought, knowledge dayat is not abstract but relational and lived. The Torah's instructions teach Israel to know God through obedience, as in Hosea 6:3. For example, keeping the Sabbath in Exodus 28:11 recalls God's creation and rest, deepening Israel's relationship with Him.
The Torah does not separate moral, ritual, and civil spheres, as Greek thought might categorize. All aspects of life, worship, ethics, justice, are unified under the goal of covenant fidelity, reflecting God's holistic view of human existence.
The Torah addresses Israel as a community, not as individuals in isolation. Leviticus 19:2 calls the whole congregation to be holy, and laws like the gleaning provisions, such as in Leviticus 19:9-10, emphasize communal welfare, unlike Greek philosophy's focus on individual virtue.
The Torah's commandments, precepts, and statutes are tied to God's redemptive acts. For instance, the Passover in Exodus 12 commemorates the Exodus, and the command to love the stranger in Leviticus 19:34 recalls Israel's sojourn in Egypt. This historical grounding contrasts with the ahistorical ideals of Greek philosophy.
The significance of the Torah lies in its shaping of Israel's identity as God's covenant people, called to reflect His holiness and justice. It is taught communally, ensuring collective adherence and internalized through practice. Unlike Greek philosophy's speculative goals, the Torah's purpose is practical, to enable Israel to walk in God's ways, fulfilling their role as a light to the nations.
To summarize this discussion, the Torah serves as the instructions and statutes for following the covenant, guiding Israel in a relational, practical, and communal life of obedience to God. It integrates narrative, commandments, statutes, and precepts, rooting obedience in God's redemptive acts, and emphasizes holiness, justice, and fidelity. Interestingly, this aligns with Paul's prayer in Colossians 1:9-10, where knowledge of God's will and a worthy walk reflect the Torah's covenantal vision, now fulfilled in the Messiah. By focusing on the Torah's historical and relational context, we avoid the abstract frameworks of Greek philosophy, thereby highlighting the Torah's unique role in shaping Israel's covenantal life. And the Torah is the foundation for the teachings of Yeshua and the apostles regarding the covenant of Yeshua and the followers of his way.
If you, listeners, have areas of interest you'd like to explore further, questions or comments, please don't hesitate to let us know.